Hello, lovely people! I'm back! My name's Alethea Thomas. If you've been here before or if you haven't been here before, I mostly talk about books and bookish things, so if that sort of thing interests you, then you are in the right place. Today I'm going to talk about what I read in the month of September. This is my monthly wrap-up. So I guess we'll just get right into the books because I want to film this wrap up quickly, and then I think I'm going to go directly into filming what my TBR is for the month of October. A lot of good plans for October. I'm super excited about it. I'm just super excited about getting these filmed and out to everybody. So it's going to be like a bang, bang, bang. Videos are going to drop a bit more quickly than usual, especially this week. So who knows what I'll film, during the month of October at all. I have no idea, but I really just want to get this done and over with so I can go on to my TBR for October because I'm really excited about that. So what I read in the month of September. So I started the month off strong by reading The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Really, really good book. Classic adventure, mystery, kind of gothic. Takes place in France. Takes place at the Opera House in France. It is a fantastic novel. I recommend anybody read it if you are at all interested in the play, The Phantom of the Opera. It's a musical. I'm very familiar with the musical. My mother used to work the musicals that would come in town here in Kansas City, and she worked The Phantom of the Opera a number of times. But the book, very strong. Some people really love this book. I mean, I don't especially love it, but I like the fact that I've read it now and I have that under my belt. I don't think I'll go back to it in the future. I may read some spin-offs of The Phantom of the Opera. I know that there is another one called Phantom. I'll try and put it up here. I don't recall who that's by, but I've heard it's really good. And it's basically the story of The Phantom of the Opera, but just written differently and maybe provides more context to the story. So anyway, that was The Phantom of the Opera. Enjoyed it a lot. I did give it like 3 stars, like 3.5, because it just didn't wow me. And I think that's just because I'm so familiar with The Phantom of the Opera. Then after The Phantom of the Opera, I read Bunny. Oh my gosh, Bunny. I think Bunny is like a new favorite for me. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really tempted. I think I gave it like 4.5. I'm really tempted to give it a 5-star rating because after I got done reading Bunny, I kept thinking about just how insane it was and how fun it was, and I just enjoyed the heck out of it. And I kind of went into why I enjoyed it so much in a previous video, so I won't go into it too much here, but I really enjoyed Bunny. And if you're looking for just something really weird to read, and it would be great for an October book because it's got, a definite murder in it. It's got some horror aspects to it. It's really interesting and really crazy and just psychologically weird. So, if you're looking for something weird, definitely check out Bunny. Mona Awad is now on my radar, and so I'm totally going to pick up the books by her. I know she has a more recent one out. I think it's called like Rogue or Rouge maybe. And I think I'm going to pick that one up and read that pretty soon. Maybe I'll get to it in October. I'm not sure yet. I have a lot going on in October, so who knows what I'll actually get to. So then after Bunny, I read The London Seance Society. And I wasn't impressed. It really was kind of a boring book. You would think that something about Victorian London and the seances and the spooky aspects of that would be a really good story, a really interesting story with the potential for like really rich imagery and spookiness and all of that, and it just didn't have it. It was such a matter-of-fact book, I felt like, that it lost me. like most of the way through, and I kept thinking to myself, this has got to get better, this has got to get better, and it just really didn't get that much better. I think maybe it picked up a little bit near the end, but I don't know, I just didn't really like it. It didn't grab me. So I think I ended up giving it like 2 stars. Yeah. Just kind of disappointed. So I don't really recommend the London Seance Society, but if you are interested in kind of that sort of thing, then by all means read it. Then after that, I listened to The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. It was pretty decent. I was actually a little bit bored with it up to halfway through, and then as we kind of got into maybe the 60% mark or so, things started picking up at that point. And it was more exciting at that point. A lot more romance was going on. A lot more erotic stuff was going on at that point. The girl can write a good sex scene. I'll give her that. Very good. But she needed to spice up the beginning of it. I don't know if it's just because I've read so many fantasy romance at this point that, I've read it all before. I understand what she was going for. She wanted to kind of establish her character as like an unfeeling, cautious person, throughout the beginning of the book, and there are rules in place and she has to follow these rules or else she won't survive. There's a lot of that going on, a lot of Katniss Everdeen sort of going on, sort of also like the gal on Throne of Glass, which I'm completely forgetting right now, and I should be ashamed of myself. But the main character in Throne of Glass series, just a little bit too much, not so much swagger, I want to say. She has way less swagger, the main character in this book. But anyway, it's just, I kind of felt like I'd seen it before, and it wasn't impressing me. So then once we got about halfway through, then it started to kind of pick up and impressing me. And also trial books. This is a giant trial book. I don't really like trials, I think. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a little bit different, but it is still kind of a trial book, because the trial is not the entire book in that series. The trial is, I want to say, like, the last half of that book is trial. But this whole book from start to finish is trial. And, okay, that's fine. It's something interesting to write about, but I don't know. I don't know if I particularly like books about trials. So it is what it is. But yeah, I ended up, because it did pick up at the end, and because the ending made me want to read the next book, because I think the next book will be really cool and really what I'm after, I ended up giving it a 4. Yeah, 4 stars for sure. So yeah, if you're at all interested in fantasy romance, pick it up and read it. You'd probably really like it. After that, I read a whole bunch of manhwa during the month of September. The one that I think read the most of was Villains Are Destined to Die, and so I'll just put that up here. I was able to find an online source to actually read more of it, and I ended up reading the entire thing. I enjoy it a lot. I think it's very colorful. I enjoy the characters. I think it's kind of funny in some places. The main female character just kind of cracks me up. She's just so matter of fact. She's so blithe. She's just, just tells people what she thinks all the time. Tries, I think, at first to hold herself back a little bit and to be more proper and a lady and to tell people what she thinks that they want to hear. But then she just kind of like gives it up and says, to hell with all of you. I'm going to do what I want. And it goes from there. And it's pretty funny. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I read like 3 collections, I think. Then the other manhwa that I read was Under the Oak Tree. This one's by Suji Kim, and it's a very pretty book. It is a interesting story. There are some things that are not particularly great as far as like relationships go in this. I feel like that the main character has kind of been forced, which she has been. She's been forced into a marriage with a guy she barely knows. But you do find out later that he's been in love with her for a very long time. But this is, it takes place in sort of a medieval fantasy world. And there's magic and sorcery and all of that. And she lives in a castle, and she's a duchess, I think, or something like that. And her husband is a duke, and he has the whole, a whole castle and everything. And they're protecting the snowy north of this country. And now we're just starting to get into the political intrigue in the most recent chapters of it. So I want to say that I have read like 5 collections of this already, and it's good. I enjoy it a lot. Some people might not like it though. Not that it's like a little rapey, but at the beginning it is kind of like, oh, we're married now, so we have to do our marital duties, and it does feel a little bit forced. So if you're not into that, then don't read it, because it's not too bad. Over time she's like, yeah, my husband's a hot guy and I want to just do him all the time. But it does take a little while, and it just feels a little forced at first, which I'm not a huge fan of. Then after that, I read Death in Venice by Thomas Mann. I enjoyed Death in Venice a lot. I love Thomas Mann's writing. The writing was so pretty. He had a lot to say just about the landscape, the beauty of Italy, about the culture, the people around him. Just all kinds of just observations about everyday human existence that I found just really nice. There is some creep factor though in this book. Oh yeah, the main character's name is Gustav von Aschenbach. So he's, I think, German descent, and he was a very successful writer. But he, never married, never had children. He's gay. And that's fine. That's how he is. So, I don't know if he says in the book that he was ever dating or ever with anybody. So maybe this is really the first time that he feels any feelings for another human being. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he does end up attracted to a Polish youth that is just physically attractive to him, we'll say. And he ends up kind of following around this youth and his family, and he figures out what their schedule is during the day. And so he makes sure that he's at the beach on the days that they're at the beach. He goes and sits where he can observe this boy and his family and all of that. So yes, the creep factor is there, and it's not as bad as you think, really. I think he's just really appreciating the beauty of this boy. And he does talk about the beauty of this boy quite a lot. Now, I don't know how close this is to Lolita. I think Lolita ends up stepping a little bit farther down the inappropriate rabbit hole, if you will. But Thomas Mann keeps it fairly clean here. He doesn't do anything. There's nothing bad happens, so I want you to know that. If you are interested in reading this book, Death in Venice, it just talks about what this gentleman thinks of this boy, and that he finds him to be attractive. That's the extent of it. Now that, when this was written, which was how long ago? How long ago was this? 1912. This coming out in 1912, though, this would have been shocking to some people. Oh, yeah, for sure. So, so that's probably why it's gotten the reputation that it has. But I don't think that should hold anybody back from reading this book at all, because nothing actually happens. I'll leave it at that. But I won't spoil it. It's called Death in Venice for a whole nother reason. So take that as you will, and if you are interested in it at all, it is a very pretty book. Go read it. The last book that I managed to get in right before Victober, because I'm going to try and do some Victober adjacent reading this month is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I know the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I never read the book. And, we've seen movies and, popular culture around Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but, the book is actually way better than the popular culture, I think. The writing is really cool. The backstory is really interesting. It actually starts out as an investigation into some strange happenings going on. A man runs literally on his feet, runs over a child, and then this man is caught and questioned and threatened, that they're going to do something to him unless he pays up, to the parents of this child. And that's Hyde. That's Mr. Hyde at this point. And the timeline goes back and forth a little bit as to when things are occurring. So you get perspectives of a few different people, and then you get the explanation from Dr. Jekyll himself and his confession and all of that and what is going on. So it's actually a very interesting tale, interesting way of writing the tale. And sometimes you can find some really well acted audiobooks, of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I recommend that you do go to your local library and get an audiobook of it, because it's really good if you get it an audiobook. Anyway, that was my month of September, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Pretty much everything except for the London Seance Society was really good. I really enjoyed the month. So, like I said, and everything except for London Seance Society was pretty good. Nothing 5 stars or anything like that. Nothing like, wow, that's a really awesome book, except for maybe Bunny. Bunny was this close to a 5-star. And I am kind of thinking about changing Bunny to a 5-star, just because it was so different. It was really different. Like I said, totally recommend Bunny to anybody. Really good book. I'm also reading Wolf Hall. I'm pretty well into it. I'm at 111 pages, but this is like a 500-600 page book. So this is a bit of a chonker, and I am, just kind of working my way through it. And hopefully I will get through it next month for sure. So anyway, I think that will be it for now then. Yeah. And I'm going to wrap this one up. Hopefully this was fairly short. I don't know. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.